What's up guys, it's Mike with Alpha Reptile back with another video today, and we are coming at you with a plant room tour. You guys can see my room right now. It is jam-packed full of living vivariums, planted tanks, and just like a general greenhouse tank. There's a ton of orchids in bloom right now, so I figured I'd get this video done now. I'll show you some of the individual tanks and remember as many species as I possibly can. But there are so many plant species in here. I do need to make a running list of how many different plants I have in here and like what the species are from each one. Unfortunately, May Madness does not donate the time to me to make that list right now. So it'll have to happen in June, but we're just gonna show you around the room, show you all the different plants that I have. If you're looking for some really cool plants to add to your vivariums, all of these plants are vivarium suitable, I suppose. That's what I do with all of my plants, is I put them in different builds and sell them to friends and stuff like that that want them for their terrarium. If you're interested in this kind of greenhouse, green room tour, definitely stay tuned. You will not be disappointed. Just before we start the video, I did want to mention that I do have an Instagram somewhere down here on the screen, as well as a Facebook page, Twitter. Everything will be linked for you guys down in the description, so make sure you go check it out if you're interested. I am posting every day on Instagram as well, so it's a lot of content, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so just to start off the tour of this big tank, I'm not gonna go through every single plant in here. There's a ton of bromeliads, there's a ton of different orchids. I'll point out a couple of the really cool ones that I have, and then if you guys are interested, in the comments down below, maybe I can throw the rest of the names down there. But until that time, I just wanted to show you a couple of the different ones that I decided to pull out here. And that is because these are two of the main ones that are blooming. So that guy right at the very front is Sidereia japonica. I think it might have been reclassed to Phalaenopsis japonica now, but either way, this is a beautiful orchid and it smells like lemon cake, so it's definitely a really cool orchid to have in the collection. I don't know how it would do in an actual vivarium setting, but it is doing great in just like a standard greenhouse, so I'm super happy with it, and it's doing super well. So this is another small Phalaenopsis, and it's again blooming. This pretty much is in bloom almost 100% of the time. There's typically like maybe a month or two all year that doesn't have blooms on it, especially if I take care of it properly. A lot of times I forget to water my orchids and they tend to go downhill, but I always manage to bring them back. So you can tell that this is actually a really small plant, and so I think I plan on incorporating this into one of my builds soon enough. But it is a beautiful plant. They both are really cool. The purple one, or the mauve one, whatever you want to call it, right at the front here, doesn't have any smell to it, but it just looks really nice. I call this the greenhouse. It's not actually a greenhouse. It's just a, I believe, 32-inch long by 18 front to back by about 26 tall glass terrarium or vivarium, whatever you want to call it. And this is where I keep all my plants. I do really plan on improving this, organizing it a little bit more. I just haven't had the time to sit down and do that with May Madness and stuff. But you guys can see there's a lot of different plants in here. There's a bunch of different orchids. There is, right back there, there's some bromeliads. There is a Nepenthes pitcher plant as well. That's that really big one growing up towards the top. In addition to the pitcher plant, there is a variegated vanilla plant right there next to the pitcher. You can see it on camera right there. Up front here, there are quite a few different orchids as well. This is a Masdevallia species, and that is actually flowering for me pretty frequently. You can see its buds and stuff right here. It is a reoccurring bloomer, I suppose. I can't remember what that's called, but it basically reblooms off the same, I guess, flower spike several times rather than just once like a lot of other orchids. Right next to it, there's a Scapucephalum, which is right here. And that guy does really well. It blooms all the time. The flowers on that one are really quite tiny, so it's kind of hard to get some photos and stuff of it, but I plan to get some next time it goes through a blooming cycle. A Scafucephalum Cymex, and then another Scafucephalum something. I can't remember what that guy's called. There's a really nice Monstera of some kind. If somebody knows what this Monstera is called, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm very interested in finding out what it is called. There's a whole host of bromeliads up the side here, as you guys can see. And then the back, the very back, the long grassy one, you can see right there, that's called a coconut orchid or a Maxillaria tenuifolia. And right next to it at the back is the Darwin's orchid or the Angraecum sesquipedale. Some really cool plants in here. If you guys are looking for vivarium orchids and stuff like that, the ones up front here are the best for you. The Phalaenopsis can work out as well. But while we're talking about vivarium orchids, we're actually just gonna transition over to my right here. And you guys, it might be kind of hard to see because it's typically really blown out. But you guys can see that right there is a beautiful Cattleya orchid. I don't know what the species is. It's a dwarf Cattleya that I bought a couple years ago at one of the shows as a much smaller plant, but it is blooming and it looks magnificent. I'm really hoping to take out this piece of driftwood and incorporate it in the build that I'm actually doing right now, because there's a lot of cool orchids in this tank, and I think using that as a display showpiece at the Reptile Expo next weekend will be a super cool idea, and it'll bring some attention to the booth. So yeah, that's the little Cattleya orchid. It is pretty big. I mean, you guys can see my hand next to it, like that's at the same plane as the flower, so it's a pretty big flower. And then, of course, there's more bromeliads and some other orchids in here as well, but nothing super noteworthy and nothing that I'm going to recommend just yet. So I don't want this to become an extremely long video. I could go through every single tank and every single plant. I'm not going to do that. I will show you my beautiful Alocasia. I don't know what species this is. I'm pretty sure it's just like a cultivar, a selectively bred thing, just by the way that craziness looks. But I'm thinking of actually putting that in this tank here that I'm building right now. You guys probably can't see it too well, but that's what you're going to see. And then down here I have some orchids that I've potted. That's a Maxillaria. That is a Pleurothallus diabolica. That is a Lepanthes orchid. I believe it's a Lepanthes tentaculata. And then there is another couple orchids. Two different species, obviously. Both look really good, and I'm really excited to see how they do in a terrarium type setting. But yeah, the rest of the stuff we have in here is, there's a Monstera right there. There's a silver philodendron. I believe that might be a pothos now. I think it got reclassified. And then, yeah, that's pretty much anything noteworthy in there. Now that we've covered the stuff towards the ground, plant tank there, we covered everything over here. Now what we can do is I'm gonna pull off these bins from the top here, and we'll just go through those real quick. There is some really cool rare plants in there, so if you're into the rare plant type deal, definitely stick around. Let's get into the little Sunblaster greenhouses there. So in here there's not quite as many cool plants as the other Sunblaster LED, but we do have some like red clover. This stuff is kind of a cool ground cover and interesting to throw in your vivariums or terrariums if you have any. We have a really nice red bromeliad. This plant in the middle, I honestly cannot remember what it's called, so if you guys have any idea, let me know, because I'd be very curious about if you guys know what it's called. It is kind of, I guess, bleaching towards the inside, because you can see at the tip how colorful it is. But I got that from Biopod when I worked there, and I don't have that on the plant species list that I made, so I don't know exactly what it is, but it will definitely be going in one of my new builds because it's just so cool. It's such a nice plant. I've had it for so long that I really need to actually use it in one of the upcoming builds. It's mostly just bromeliads and stuff in here, except over on this end here, those guys right there that you see on screen in the center of your screen that are in focus right now are called pinguiculas. They are a species of carnivorous plant. They're not one that moves or anything, but you guys can just see down there all the different like dew and stuff you can see on the leaves, and that's all for catching prey and growing nice and strong. All of that moss around it is actually sphagnum moss, so if you guys are wondering what that is, it is what sphagnum moss looks like when it's alive. So that is the first tray of plants that I have under the greenhouse by Sunblaster. Now why don't we grab the second tray? Now this here is the plant tray that I really like, and the one that is filled with the most, I guess, rare plants and stuff like that. I don't know what this plant is here. I was just sent it by one of my friends, and here it is. This is basically a tray of various different mosses and stuff that I've received. All I'm doing is just cultivating it in there so I can throw it on logs and stuff in different vivarium builds. You can see a lot of my plant keeping revolves around the vivarium aspect of things. This guy here is the Scusphucephalum rapax, and then that is the Speclarina grobii small. As you can see, it is a huge plant, and it will do very, very nicely in any vivariums that you guys have. Over here, I used to have a really impressive collection of Margravia. Unfortunately, when I was in Belize last year, I didn't give very good instructions to my mom on how to look after this stuff, and unfortunately they did mostly pass away, but I will be certainly trying to grow that collection again here once I can. This is the pièce de résistance. There's a lot of really, really cool plants in here. To be honest, I don't even know the names of most of them. A lot of them are the microgramma, or various different kinds of ferns, or Elaphoglossum. Those are the two that are kind of in here. The one that's in the frame right now, this guy here, the kind of mini palm tree, is called the Biophytum sensitivum. And then there's just a bunch of different like random ferns. That's called like a parsley fern. I believe that's called Divalia Dario or something like that. There's just a ton of different leaf structures. You can see all the roots and stuff growing around the rim of the container. And then down at the very front, this is actually sold. That's not even in there anymore. But yeah, you can just see a whole bunch of different plants and stuff in here. The dream to have those all growing in vivariums that I'm not going to sell, because I really like to cultivate those rather than plant them in a tank and then sell the tank for probably lower than I should. Just before we move on, this guy here is a Gesneriad species of some kind. I don't know what like species or whatever it's called, but it is one of those that it grows really well in a humid tropical setup. This will also grow well as a house plant. It just has to be acclimated to kind of house plant conditions, so got to keep that in mind. Whereas the rest of these really do need quite elevated humidity and temperature for them to grow well. This is my rare tray of plants. So in the end here, I did decide to not bring down all my bromeliads to show you guys. If you guys are looking for bromeliads and some different plants like that for sale, I do have a video on my channel about it. I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner for you guys to check out. You guys can go to that video, and any bromeliads that you like in that unboxing, I have some available still, so if you guys are interested in that, definitely let me know. But just wrapping up this video, for those of you guys that watch my channel and are more into the reptiles and stuff, I just fed the baby Uromastyx, and they are finally eating some of the greens and stuff. So one of the happiest moments in recent memory for me, but really stoked on them, really happy that they're doing well. All right, guys, and that's actually going to do it for me here today. This was just kind of a tour of, I guess, my room, kind of. All the plants and stuff that I have. It probably wasn't all that helpful. I just kind of hope you guys enjoyed watching it and enjoying some of the really cool vivarium plants that I have. It's not all that helpful because I didn't really put the name of many of the, I guess, plants that I have in, because I can't remember them all, but hopefully after sometime this summer, I'll be able to go through and pick out all the names and make a running list of all the plants that I have. But with that said, that's going to do it from me. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave them in the comment section down below. If you guys want to see more of the content, want to see more of May Madness, more babies, more plants, and more tank builds, definitely click that subscribe button and you will not be disappointed. I'll see you guys tomorrow for a live stream. If you guys are watching this on Saturday, every Sunday I do a live stream, so we will be doing that tomorrow. Hope to see you there, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. That's 10 a.m. on the West Coast and 1 p.m. on the East Coast. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow. Later.